up, you guys? This is Rob from the Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, we are back with another installment of Robbery 2 shit that you don't want to read yourself. Now, today we're going to be covering a Kotaku article that actually goes over all of the things that are going to be patched on Anthem's Day 1 release. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire article that has all of the little stories and background details that go into some of these changes. We're just going to go ahead and jump into the listing of what I feel are the most important items that they're going to address. And believe you me, I actually went ahead and edited down this list because I'm like, that item's a little too specific. That's just a little too nitpicky right there. So we're going to take a look at what I think are the most important bits, but it's a long freaking list. That's why I went ahead and knocked it down. Let's go ahead and start with high-level fixes. So first and foremost, they're going to improve loading times. I did catch this in a tweet and they said it's going to be up to 50% reduced. So a part of me is like, is it up to 50%? Like how much faster are these loading times going to be? Because if I'm going to be honest with you, they are the most painful thing in game aside from rubber banding. I had to kind of stutter there for a second. I was like, is rubber banding worse or are the loading times worse? And both of them can be pretty irritating. But glad to see that they are going to be improving that. Next, they fixed many infinite loading screens. Now, for me, I haven't run into any of these infinite loading screens, but if that's an issue that you are currently running into, know that they're going to be doing their best to fix that. They have fixed a multiple challenges not tracking properly. This can be a pain in the butt when you are trying to take care of a quest. Listen, I've been trying to unlock a Grandmaster pistol this whole time, and I've been trying to take out legendary enemies, and I'm pretty sure I got some of those kills that were not recorded, so you know, refund me accordingly, Bioware. Thank you. A number of issues have been fixed that were causing players to disconnect or crash. Again, I haven't run into many of these. I think for the full, 60 plus hours that I've been playing so far, I've only had one hard crash. So they said that that's going to be taken care of. And weapons and gear now have numbers present for modifiers. All of my gear has had numbers on there, so if you guys are running into it where some of your gear is showing as non-percentages, know that it is going to be improved. So those are going to be the big overarching fixes. Now we're going to go into general fixes and improvements. Loot reveal and expedition screen summary now have correctly played during the end of mission screen. Not an issue that I've run into, but just in case you have, the gather party mechanic has been made more lenient in a number of situations. Okay, so you guys know that I have really, really long load times, okay? So what this is doing, hopefully, it will fix some of the issues that you have where you load into a mission, right? And you have a really long loading screen, because that's an issue, and your team has, like, jetted out in front of you and they've flown away and they're by the mission like little area, and what happens is you get tethered. So what happens is if you're too far away from your team during the mission, it'll actually pull you to your team. It's great if the loading screens weren't so long. So what would happen is I'd load in, right? My team would already be at the objective, so I would have 20 seconds to cover the distance to try to get to them. So what would happen is I'd be in a load screen, then I'd have 20 seconds, then I'd be in another load screen to like zoom me to the team. So hopefully that leniency will spill over to that, so it's not like constant load screen like Inception. So yay for that. At the end of expedition screen, players will no longer get stuck on recording victories or skipping all. Not something that I've had any kind of issue with, but there. Some enemies have had their shield values decreased. I'm really happy to hear this. I guess, I like a little bit of difficulty, but I've literally burned an ult on, I believe it was a legendary target. So of course it's going to be a little bit tougher. I burned an ult trying to take down a legendary storm shield, and I would take down the shield, I do a little bit of damage to their health, and then all of a sudden, you know, I gotta go because he's a legendary target on Grandmaster 2 and he's trying to kill me, and boom, he's back up in the air with full shields and just a little bit of health nicked, and I'm like, you make me upset. So I'm glad to see some of their shield values have been decreased. Loot now properly drops for players who are down. This has definitely been a bug that a lot of people have run into, where they were saying that if they go down, the loot doesn't actually appear for them. I've seen this tweeted a lot, so I'm glad to see that this is going to get addressed, because this is a looter shooters. Come on, give us our loot, right? The texture quality on the NPC Prospero has been improved. Now, the reason that I left this in, because this is very specific, like I said, they have these little fixes noted, but for Prospero, for me, no matter what happens, after I get a couple lines of dialogue for him, after a certain point, legitimately, the game will just boot me It's just like, you talk to him? No, you're not allowed to talk to him. You can go back to the loading screen. So that's the thing that I'm noting here. I'm not sure if the two things are linked, but it's an interesting bug because I can't get any more of the storyline from him to progress. And I think that it's stopping me from getting to another really cool story mission. Not story mission, but just like dialogue story. Moving along, the final boss of Strongholds now drops loot instead of only being shown on the end of expedition screen. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. Let me just tell you this. I didn't know that the bosses at the end of these missions actually dropped loot or were supposed to drop loot. I thought you just killed them and you were done. They set you free is basically what happens. You can leave now that you've killed this guy. So I didn't know that we're actually getting bonus loot from the bosses, but now it's nice to know that when you kill them, their bodies are gonna explode in a shower of loot. So that way you can go ahead and pick them up and everything is hunky-dory. So nice to know that I wasn't killing them for absolutely no reason. Fix the timeouts on echoes and relics to prevent griefing and handle disconnections properly. This is always good to hear because there have been some times where, you know, some people just don't realize that they have the objectives on them and they don't take them to where they're supposed to go. So it's nice to know they get the chop if they're fucking it up. All right. Let's see. Addressed a variety of situations where killing enemies does not properly progress world events. Is maybe getting Grandmaster Weapon Blueprints a world event? Because Rob's trying to get his little machine pistol, okay? I'm just saying. Alright, opening a chest now increments the Tombs of the Legionnaire progress for all squad members present. Now, this is a very specific thing, but this was one of the things I wanted to note. There is a quest within the game that requires you to do open world events. A lot of people found this tedious. It was really a big pain in the ass for a lot of people. We managed to get it in at the right time where things were updating perfectly and all of that. So really the only things that we had to worry about were multi-kills, ultimate kills, and opening chests. The only thing is, before this, you would open a chest, or one of your teammates would open a chest, and that would not count for you. That would only count for the teammate opening the chest. So what would happen is my teammate, you know who you are, ran around picking up all the chests, and he's like, I've only got one left. How many do you have? 10. Because your ass was running around picking up all the chests. Well, let me get a chest. So he had to run around with me and get the last 10, which I felt really nice. I was like, you suffer now. So now with this update, opening a chest will do it for everybody on the team. So it's always a good thumbs up. Nobody's gonna be fighting over there. Scar snipers can no longer shoot through storm shield. Drats, cause I hate storms. I do actually, just a little bit, but I love having them on the team because they have really good CC, but I put that in there for the Storm players out there, specifically one who stole all of my chests. They increased the damage of the electric status effect, which is really, really nice because the electric status effect didn't feel super duper strong, but it's great now, especially because electricity is really, really good against shielding. So shielding gonna take a hit on this one. Status effects can now more reliably be applied to Titans. I did not know we were allowed to do that, but hopefully my Cryoglaive, my Masterwork Cryoglaves can slow those bitches because they're assholes. Let me get that weak spot. Alright, so we're done with general fixes and improvements. Let's go ahead and move into Strongholds. Fixed an issue that would cause a Stronghold server crash after defeating the last boss, which would suck because when you tried to load back in, that mission would already be complete and you probably wouldn't have gotten your gear. Adjusted lighting in the Tyrant Mine underwater section to make it easier to navigate to the exit. Thank you! Because there are some beautiful underwater areas in this game, and that just so happens to be one of the ones where you can't see shit and you just end up drowning because you're swimming in circles. Fixed Tyrant Mine so people that join the Stronghold in progress do not end up locked away from their team. I added this one to go with corrected an issue where players would spawn into different areas of the Tyrant Mine in certain situations. It's happened to me where literally I've spawned into one area, but my team was not quite to the area yet. So I would have to sit there and wait for my team to come to me. So I would actually disconnect, reconnect so I could be with the rest of my team. It was just a whole hullabaloo. But regardless, it's good to know that they're fixing that. Moving along, we have gear and weapons. Ice damage bonuses are now correctly applied on ice gear. So it's nice to know all y'all ice mages out there can lay into your enemies even better now. Suit-wide bonuses from inscriptions are now functioning properly. Players can no longer salvage equipped items. Thank God, because I'm a fucking idiot, and I would have definitely been one of those people that accidentally salvaged something I had equipped. So, thank you for that. Javelin specific gear and or weapons are no longer able to be used on javelins they aren't intended for. Good on ya for getting that right. It should have been right the first time, but come on. Corrected an issue where in some circumstances, masterwork components do not have any inscriptions. So if you had that feels bad moment where you got a masterwork and you look down at the bottom and you're like, but it didn't give me any bonuses. That's the whole point, except for the bonus effect. But you know, just saying. It's nice to know. It's nice to know they're working on that. We've also got some Javelin buffs now that are coming in. So the Colossus Javelin is now able to activate its shield more quickly after using an ability or firing a weapon, which is fantastic because for those of you guys who don't know about Colossus Javelins, they have a physical shield that they put up. They don't actually have a shield. They've got a ton of health, but unless that shield is up, they're actually taking direct health damage. So it's nice to know they'll be able to go ahead and switch back into that after firing a weapon. The Storm Javelin now reacts to getting hit when its shields are up. It's good, so it lets you know that you're actually getting hit. Fixed an exploit that allowed the Storm's ultimate attack to be used more times than intended. Alright, cheating ass Storms, we know that's how you get a lot of damage. You get all that XP? It's because you've been using your ultimate more than you should be. See you. Moving on, we have the Colossus Javelin can now shield and revive at the same time. Help me out on my Colossus players, because you know, I may be a Grandmaster too, but that doesn't mean I don't fuck up, okay? The Interceptor combo aura has been increased in power and now has a damage over time component. Please let the damage over time component be meaningful. Let it be meaningful. Let it do a good amount of damage over time. Don't give us like a lousy, here's 100 points of damage here and there. Nah, make sure you're giving me thousands of points of damage, especially when we're taking on things at Grandmaster Plus levels, okay? Because if the aura doesn't matter, what's the point in using it? Moving along. Controls. They did have a lot of specific controls that did get boosted too, but I just, just buckle down to one line. Additional mouse and keyboard control improvements have been made. So for those of you guys who have not played it yet or just playing the demo or thinking about pre-ordering, yada yada yada, so on and so forth, just know, number one, flight and swimming is a ton better, but it looks like it's going to get even better with additional mouse and keyboard control improvements. So keep that in mind. And the last little bit that we're going to cover here is the UI. I've actually got a fairly long list in this one, which is surprising, but I've been on record before. Bioware makes crap UIs. I love Bioware. Great story, you know, great character development, you know. I like the mechanics you put in your game, but your UIs, man, you need to talk to mama. She'll help you. Alright, so some conversations were not popping up the reputation points conversion completion. This has been fixed. Good. The squad screen now displays the correct information for each player. That way you know who you should be flying off to in free play. You're like, okay, so you rocking 450? Okay, we can hang out. Cool. Fix a number of issues where subtitles were no longer stuck on the screen after dialogue finishes open, which is always nice. Settings should no longer reset upon exiting and restarting the game on Xbox One. Put that in there for you console players, because people seem to think I don't care about console, which, I mean, I kind of don't, but I throw you a little bone occasionally. Motion blur can now correctly be turned off. Congratulations. I like motion blur, so it's staying on. The electric status effect now shows scale damage properly, which is fantastic. An option has been added to hide the squad member HUD, which is weird to me because I like to know where my squad members are. It's like I'm one of those players that easily get lost. I think it's my constant like downfall as a player. I don't know where anything is, so it's nice to know the little arrows on the screen telling me. I'm like, oh, okay, you're there. All right, sweet, thank you. The edge of the compass will now pulse to indicate enemy locations. Nice. A notification been added in Fort Tarsus if a player's vault is at the cap of 250 items. This is one of those things where I'm dancing precariously there because I'm a little bit of a hoarder, but hopefully we'll get that fixed soon. Primer and detonator icons have been added to all interceptor gear. thank you. Because I can tell you right now, interceptor, what's called this, icons were weird. They just tell you, like, randomly in the description, you're like, yeah, this covers enemies and poison. All right, it doesn't say you're a primer though. And then you take it out in the field and enemies are primed and you're like, oh, okay. So you just didn't know you were a primer, but you are a primer. So it's nice to know Bioware is like, okay, let us make you aware of what you actually do. You'll see it in the interceptor combos right now too. They'll just be like, this detonates combos, but you don't see a little detonator icon on there, so it's good to know they're getting on that. And then last but not least, corrected a user interface issue where a player's ultimate was shown as available when it isn't. Thank you for finally fixing this, because there have been many suicide runs that I've made not knowing that it was a suicide run. Legitimately, I'm like, let me get in there, let me go ahead and clear these enemies, you know, getting my interceptor ultimate, which for those of you guys who don't play the game and don't know what that is, basically you go invincible for a period of time and you just go on a murder rampage with blades and shit, right? Fantastic, but you know, I'm dashing across the screen, either taking on a big enemy or run into a turret, and then I'm ready. I'm like, all right, hit it a couple times. Uh-oh, taking fire, ultimate. Just kidding, it's not there. And then I'm like, I'm an interceptor with no defense, and I've already taken several hits, and I thought my ultimate was up, so you're just gonna have to res me under this big legendary target, which I thought I was gonna be able to get away from, but apparently my ultimate was not up. So, thank you for addressing that, because I've looked like a terrible player many times, and in fact on screen you'll just hear me like go this tapping really loud on my key. I'm like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And I'm like, god damn you, Bioware! And then I explode and die. But that is a big list of the things that they are going to be updating for the Anthem's Day 1 patch. Really excited for all of these things to come out. Really hoping to see the Interceptor getting a little bit more love, because they kinda sorta need it. They're a bit of a squish ball right now without enough damage output, so can you make the radius of that aura a little bit bigger too? I'd appreciate it. Like, add in another, you know, what's another 10 meters gonna hurt, you know? What's another, you know, 2,000 points of damage gonna hurt at Grandmaster 2? You know, I'm just putting it out there for you. Anyway, if you guys want to see the full listing with all the like the little tidbits, I'm gonna again leave the article link down in the description box below so that you guys can go ahead and read it for yourselves. But that about does it for me for now, and don't worry, we will be covering more Warframe soon as more Warframe content comes out. And we will be doing some fashion, as people have been asking, what do we call fashion Javelin? It's going to be called the Fashion Forge, because that's where you go to like go put your little javelin on point, right? Where you get your little skins on and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna be doing that as well. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming to the channel for both video games. So keep an eye out on that. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.